Tonight's broadcast is coming to you directly from my home here in Sedona because I would like to share from my heart my perspectives on this coronavirus outbreak and the effect on the collective consciousness. Of course, I want to start by expressing my sincere compassion for all who have been affected in a negative way by the spread of this virus and all that has unfolded as a result. The loss of lives, the loss of loved ones, the loss of revenue from businesses being closed around the world. However, I want to offer also this opportunity to see the bigger picture of what may be unfolding from a higher perspective. Many people call me Susie Sunshine because I'm always shining the brighter light on everything. But that's who I am. I am truly a light worker, and I believe in my heart that there is always a higher meaning and purpose behind everything that unfolds. I believe that the God Goddess of creation is benevolent and dearly loves all of humanity, all living things and beings, all of creation, and that love is the most powerful force in the universe that drives everything. And when we can turn our attention toward the divine love and the radiant light that illuminates all of creation, we can see that everything is in divine order and in divine timing. When we have this perspective, it shifts the way that we perceive our reality. It shifts our experience of the reality individually and collectively, and it has a direct impact on the way in which things unfold for us, and not just individually but collectively. I often say where our attention goes, energy flows, and it couldn't be more true at this time. While initially I wanted to jump into the darker conspiracy theories that this is some type of biological warfare being imposed upon us by malevolent beings who want to see the extinction of the human race. But then I began engaging in conversations that illuminated the higher perspectives from a much more benevolent viewpoint. I had already been looking into the possibilities that viral infections rewrite DNA as an adaptation. And I already was aware that there have been times in the ancient past where global viral outbreaks have resulted in evolutionary advancements for those who survived. Particularly over 2 million years ago, when the human species on the planet experienced a major global viral outbreak. But what resulted in the humans who survived was a greater ability to walk upright and civilize. Then, 75,000 years ago, another major viral outbreak that resulted in human advancements were those who survived started to draw symbols and communicate in ways they never had before. Knowing that, I can't help but ponder whether this viral outbreak has the potential to create a major evolutionary shift on the planet. Whether this virus will rewrite DNA in such a way that we become a more advanced species. Also knowing that viruses enter the planet from off-planetary sources, arriving here on space debris, scientific discoveries that microbes survive the intense radiation, major temperature changes, and even the vacuum of space to come here. That being said, it makes me wonder if possibly this virus didn't arrive on planet Earth from another star system, maybe even a more advanced species, with a benevolent intention of upgrading our DNA. I understand that evolutionary upgrades of any species within a star system and within a galaxy benefits the whole as a collective, and that possibly this is a galactic evolutionary shift. I have also been aware that more advanced species are called to upgrade their less advanced brothers and sisters. And this is the process behind channeling more advanced races, like in the Law of One series and the channeling of Ra that I have been featuring in my last 2 episodes. Over the last decade, there has been so much material about an Ascension event and about DNA upgrades, about a collective shift in consciousness. And as we know, to activate the matrix for global ascension would require a global event. And this is most certainly a global event. So what are the implications of a global shift into higher consciousness? There has also been much talk about who would make this shift, who would make the cut, in other words. And it would seem to me that a global viral event would have the effect of impacting people biologically in a range from loss of life to recovery to hardly noticing that they've been infected. An interesting aspect of this virus is that unlike the flu virus, which when people come into contact with it may or may not even contract the virus, but I understand from different medical reports that with the coronavirus, those who come into contact with it, everyone is affected or infected by it. It is simply the range of symptomatic response that varies. So if there is a varying response, and we are aware that not everyone is ready, that not everyone is ready to shift into higher consciousness, this might just be the perfect opportunity to upgrade the DNA for those whose frequency is high enough to withstand the infection and survive and thrive, and a way for those who aren't ready to make the shift to simply make a free will choice to depart and or to remain on the 3D wheel, what Buddhism would call the wheel of suffering. And there is no judgment there. There are many valuable lessons to be learned in a 3D realm of duality, a realm of suffering and separation. that simply can't be experienced in other dimensions. And those who have newly arrived to have their 3D experience may not want to be deprived of it, for it is an important part of their evolutionary development and their soul's journey to know thyself through many different types of experiences in many different timelines and dimensions. But for those who are done learning through separation and suffering, they have the opportunity to get off the 3D wheel. It's so interesting that there was an outbreak 75,000 years ago that plummeted the population, but those who survived showed major evolutionary advancements. Literally, the humans who survived became an advanced species with much greater skills of communication, of civilizing, of building, and even having a greater understanding of their existence beyond survival. In the Law of One series, which I featured in my last 2 episodes, interestingly enough, it talks about a 75,000 year harvest, which would essentially be 3 25,000 year rounds on the elliptical cycle of the precession of the equinox, or the ages of the yugas that the Hindu traditions speak about, where our solar system is on this 25,000 year cycle with 12,500 years on an ascending arc, which results in a golden age of enlightenment, and 12,500 years on a descending arc, which results in the Dark Ages. In the Hindu tradition, they say that when our solar system aligns with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, as we move into a golden age, that we become aligned with Brahma, or divine consciousness that flows through the center of the Milky Way galaxy. We also know astronomically that we are receiving solar flares, not just from our own central sun, but from the central sun of the Pleiades star system, Alcyone, and from the central sun of the Cygnus constellation, Deneb. And these solar flares carry supercharged particles, or photons, and these photons are encoded with information. So not only do they raise our love light frequency, but they carry codes of higher consciousness. Some believe that this coronavirus may also carry codes of higher consciousness, and that it is a deliberate act with the intention of rewriting the human DNA for evolutionary advancement. If we consider that higher codes of consciousness are imprinted upon photons of light being sent to us from the central sun of the Pleiades, might it be possible that the advanced race of the Pleiadians, which have been known throughout history to be involved with the human race, have sent this virus to planet Earth for the benevolent purpose of upgrading the DNA so that we can finally become a more advanced species and ascend out of the 3D matrix that has trapped us in this cube where we are easily controlled, manipulated, and deceived. The 3D matrix where we are limited and confined within a certain structure with societal restrictions and expectations. In the 3D matrix where the elite and the cabal can effectively misuse power to control humanity, who they view as a subspecies, and as the 1% hoard 99% of the wealth, while the other 99% has access to only 1% of the wealth. It is high time for a revolution and an uprising to overthrow the elite, to overthrow systems which only benefit the elite, With the disclosure movement, the underworld has been exposed, which has clearly been run by the elite, world leaders and the Vatican. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, and widespread prostitution have made trillions of dollars for the elite for far too long, have kept the cabal alive and well for far too long. It is high time for these industries to dissolve, to dissipate, and to be overthrown. It is time for the masses to take their power back and to come together in unity, peace, and harmony, to create unity communities that everyone can benefit from and no one gets left behind, where equality defines the societies, where everyone looks out for one another, where no one is better than anyone else, and compassion, kindness, understanding, and patience are the human virtues that survive as the result of an evolutionary shift in consciousness. Over 25 years ago, I was inspired to break out of the 3D matrix and to align with my higher calling and purpose in the field of wellness. And I have never looked back. I have dedicated my life to enhancing the mental, spiritual, and physical well-being of my clients. I opened a wellness center and was able to offer services for many years that greatly improved the health and wellness of my clientele. However, as cycles go, and due to an economic downturn in 2007, we all suffered mentally, emotionally, and financially, individually and collectively. For myself, this led to a dark night of the soul and a depth of suffering that altered me in ways I never thought possible. I plunged into the dark night head first and had to hit rock bottom before I was able to wake up, before I was able to have a profound awakening. I had to experience a depth of suffering that brought me to my knees. It was the unconditional love of my husband and my family that awakened me to the power of love and inspired me to look toward the light of a higher way of living and being, and ultimately to seek spirituality. Immersing myself in spiritual practices has been the key to elevating my conscious awareness, to expanding my mind, and to empowering me to know that I can do, be, and have anything I desire, and that I can create my reality with the power of my thoughts and with directed intention. In other words, I experienced a profound leap in consciousness, an advancement, if you will, as a result of the depth of suffering I experienced during the dark night. This gave me an opportunity to wake up to a higher way of living and being in the world. And so as I reflect on my own individual path and realize that it is the dark night, which is a great gift that leads to profound awakening, that maybe this time of suffering individually and collectively due to the coronavirus may also be a great gift. It may be just the dark night that humanity needs to have a profound awakening. And it may be the unconditional love of others, of our friends and family, of the spiritual community, that helps us all recognize the powerful force of love and how it can transform our lives and inspire us to look toward the light of a higher way of living and being for all of humanity. As someone who has suffered intensely, of course, I have unlimited compassion for those who are experiencing any type of suffering as a result of this coronavirus. And I in no way want to diminish that, because I know for myself, in my depth of suffering, if someone would have told me that it was a great gift, I would have never been able to see it from that perspective. In fact, during my dark night, I had periods of being suicidal, but I couldn't break the heart of my loved ones. And somewhere deep inside, I knew that when my life turned around, I would be embarking on an extraordinary mission. Sometimes I have wondered if this inner knowing didn't actually lead to this brief opportunity for 1 year to dive into partying like one last hurrah before getting really serious about my divine mission, which feels like such a huge responsibility. And on the other hand, a precious opportunity to elevate the consciousness of humanity. Once I survived my dark night and returned to the field of health and wellness, now with a spiritual focus, I began to realize that I could make such a greater impact on the well-being of my clients if I included aspects for their emotional and spiritual well-being. This triggered the expansion of my path. As I gradually embarked upon my greater mission, there came a point when I knew that I could reach so many more people by moving beyond individual training sessions and into group workshops where I could offer modules that elevated the mind, body, and spirit all at once. And this program that I called Lighten Up, Evolutionary Wellness for the Body, Mind, and Spirit became the impetus for me writing books and creating conscious media, where I knew I could reach the masses and I could embark upon my greater mission and truly make a powerful and positive impact on many. And once again, I liken it to what the collective consciousness is going through at this time, where there is an awakening from suffering and a realization of our collective mission to uplift humanity into the next dimension of awareness, where unity, peace, and harmony prevail, and where love is the fuel that ignites our passion to rise up. We can rise up and realize that we are all of and from the same divine source. And therein lies the oneness. We can fully embrace the realization that we are divine, that the divine is within and without, that in truth, the divine is all there is, and anything other than divine love is part of the false matrix. So if you, my friends, are ready to accelerate your consciousness, to take a leap in consciousness beyond the 3D matrix of limitation, deception, and separation, and are ready to ascend into a higher dimensional reality where love, peace, unity, and harmony prevail, then you are being called to create that. Together we can. Nothing can hold us back. Nothing can limit us. For it is time for us to take our power back, to move out of a victim mindset and to be empowered by everything we encounter. There are no barriers. There are no challenges we cannot overcome. Light always overcomes the darkness, and love always dissolves fear. We can take lemons and make lemonade. We can see the precious opportunity within what seems like an insurmountable challenge at the moment. We can embrace this as a precious opportunity to come together and seek solutions for humanity that serve the highest good for all. When I woke up out of my dark night and was embraced by love and showered with divine light, I stepped onto the golden path of spirituality, and it was illuminated by the angels, archangels, and ascended masters. The golden gates were opened for me, and I was able to connect with the infinite source. This has brought me more inner peace and joy, more love, light, and abundance than I ever thought possible. And when I began to experience this higher way of living and being, all I wanted was for all of humanity to experience it as well. And so you see, I do believe if we can create heaven in our own lives, we can create heaven on earth. The impact of this coronavirus will shift humanity. The way in which it shifts humanity is up to each of us individually and collectively. I call upon each and every one of you to rise up to the occasion and to formulate solutions at this time that break through old paradigms and dissolve the structures that no longer serve. To envision new higher ways of living together as a peaceful species that supports one another, that shares and shares alike, with no more hoarding of wealth, with no more hoarding of power, where we can create a heterarchical society rather than a hierarchical one, where we gather in circular groups like councils and vote to develop programs, processes, and procedures that benefit everyone equally. So many people are being asked to work from home right now. Maybe this is a newer way of getting people off the freeways. I remember when I was living in Northern California and driving back and forth between Brentwood and Pleasanton, I would think to myself, there has got to be a better way to spend my time. There has got to be a better way for all of us to spend our time than sitting in gridlock traffic, sucking fumes, and getting annoyed and frustrated with one another. People acting out in ways they never would in person, bringing out the worst in people and making a massive footprint. What a waste of time and resources. So if one outcome is to realize all of the benefits of working from home and meeting online with less travel, then hallelujah. Here is the first step to creating a better way of living and being. Bars closing all over the place. Maybe we need to spend less time drinking and more time doing something much more productive and healthier. I'm all for getting people out of bars and into healthier environments. that are more conducive to higher level conversations and less conducive to debauchery, conflict, and confrontation. And yes, sexual misconduct. And the closing of restaurants. Maybe it's time we return to home cooking with organic foods and healthy ingredients. Maybe it's time we spend more time at home with our families, preparing meals and sitting around the dinner table. No cell phones allowed. My sister made a wonderful observation. In fact, it was a conversation with her that inspired a shift in my own perspective. She said, this is an opportunity for humanity to hit the pause button. And in doing so, spend some time out in nature. Spend some time reflecting upon what is most important in their lives, what they truly cherish, and who they truly cherish, what is worth focusing their attention on, and how they would most prefer to spend their time. To reflect on how they have been living their lives and what is serving them well and what isn't. Maybe to create new, better lives by spending some time at home together in our own family units and in our own communities. What do you choose? I believe in you. I believe in us. I believe in the power of humanity, and I believe in the powerful force of love. I believe we can all come together in unity. I send you all of my love and many blessings. Namaste.